I'm Kate Ferrick. The first time I met JohnRoger, was through his voice. I was given a small cassette tape at the time. It was approximately April in 1992. I was living in Los Angeles, and the cassette was communicating in a safe space. I remember listening to the cassette. I was lying on my bed in my bedroom, and I had this experience. I felt like I had gone out flying and I met this man, and I was like, what is this? And so it kind of like happened in a dream state. It was like a dream. And when I finished the cassette, it clicked off, and I immediately phoned the person who had given me the cassette, who was Steve Ferrick. And I said, what is this? And he then went on to give me some more information about who JohnRoger was and the mystical traveler consciousness. I met Steve Ferrick in March 1992. I had moved to Los Angeles from Australia as a student. I was on a student visa, and the second week I was in Los Angeles, I was introduced to Steve Ferrick through a mutual friend.
Is that before the tapes? He gave you the tapes?
Before, yeah. It was before I had ever heard of JohnRoger or Insight. So I came to the US as a young 20-year-old, not knowing anything about MSIA, and I met this man, Steve Ferrick, and it was at Izzys Deli in Santa Monica. And he was sitting there in the booth, and we had lunch together with my mutual friend. And inside of me, I asked myself, how can I relate to this man? And what came forward was really surprising to me, and it was be completely honest with him. And that for me was like, whoa, I just met this guy, and being kind of a shy, introverted person, it was quite astounding. So we became friends, and we'd speak on the phone, usually in the morning, during the day, at night. He'd often actually fall asleep when I was on the phone. So Steve and I became really good friends, and we would speak on the phone first thing in the morning, middle of the day, last thing at night, and he'd often actually fall asleep while I was talking to him on the phone. He then started talking to me about his friend JohnRoger, and I just thought JohnRoger's just one of his buddies, one of his pals. And he gave me this cassette called Communicating in a Safe Space. So after I listened to that and had the experience that I had, I was like, this is something else, this is something different. And as a young person, I'd been interested in studying like metaphysics and spiritual groups, and I'd looked into Krishnamurti's teachings and that type of thing. But I'd never had what I'd call a direct experience. And this was something really new for me. And I remember listening to JR's voice on that cassette, and it was like he was speaking just to me. It was like, wow, he really knew me. He knew who I was, and the words just were like resonating something inside me, like vibrating. So Steve then told me about this seminar called Insight. And I'd never heard of Insight, never done any type of group seminar before. So something inside me just said, do it. Yes, I had no hesitation. I really didn't ask him what it was about. I just said, yeah, I'll do it. So I was living in the Valley in Sherman Oaks, and he was living in the Palisades. So I said, hey, can I come and stay at your place for 2 nights? And the Insight one I did was during the Insight 4 training in 1992. So I had 100 Insight people in the room, 30 were brand new Insight 1 people, 70 Insight 4 people in my training. So the energy in that room was really palpable. I was blown away. At the end of that seminar, I experienced myself in a way I'd never experienced myself before. I felt like so much positivity, so much loving, and just the support from the people there, people who I did not know, was just overwhelming to me. I was like, wow, what is this? I remember Steve telling me about in the 80s, he basically had retired early at 40, and he just went into doing pure service. Oh, and golf. He loved golf. His service was with Insight seminars for the most part, and he team captained, I think, just about every training in the Los Angeles area for a period of 7 or 8 years. I remember he telling me that he used to sit at the back of the room with JohnRoger during the Insight seminar, and they would just talk and hang out, and those were some of his happiest and most enjoyable memories with JohnRoger. He really loved Insight. He got a lot of people into Insight. Even at Izzys Deli, he paid for the wait staff to go through Insight seminars. And it was his joy. You know, he had a passion for it, and he really believed in the work that it did in terms of opening the heart and allowing people to really authentically connect with their loving and who they are, and then spread that out. I really believe Insight was something that really assisted Steve personally as well, in just transforming himself. And he was one of the most loving, incredible men that I knew. And when he loved you, it was like he really loved you, and you knew it. It was like he had his, it was like this protection around you. And I used to call him my rock, and I know a lot of other people did as well. And he wasn't afraid to go to the depths, you know, of your pain and be there with you, really hold with you in that until you were able to come out of that and embrace the love that was there.
So you had a sandwich named after him. Do you know about it?
I do know about that sandwich. The sandwich was a very interesting story. I went into Izzys Deli for the first time and met Steve Ferrick, and he said to me, "I'm on the menu." And I was a, you know, young lady, and I thought, I didn't know what that meant. I thought it was just like some American, Australian thing. I don't understand it, or is he like, you know, putting a move on me? So I then opened up the Izzys menu, and there it said, Steve Ferrick steak sandwich. I was like, oh, you really are on the menu. And he was like, yeah. And that's when I kind of got clued in that he spent a lot of time at Izzys Deli. And he used to tell me that he used to go to Izzys Deli with JohnRoger sometimes, and hang out there. And he had a booth that was actually Steve's booth, and he called it his office. So he would be there, you know, at any time of day, morning, afternoon, or actually late at night after seminars finished, just a few blocks down from the 2101 building. So Izzy was actually a personal friend of his as well, and I believe JR knew who Izzy was, and Izzy knew who JR was as well. So Izzys Deli kind of became the a bit of an Insight hangout place for people to go to, and it's still there, and it's still great.
So look at
JR, I love you so much. Thank you for everything you've done for me over the past 21 years and beyond that, and I'm forever grateful. I'm yours, and God bless you, JohnRoger.
And that's a cut.